Hey guys, story time. I'm going to take you guys along with me while I run a few errands, go to a few stores and pick up a few things. We've got some family and friends in town, so we're going to have a big dinner on Sunday. So I've got to go pick a few things up and get a few Christmas presents. But I want to do a story time with you. A lot of you seem to enjoy when I talk about the things that I've been through. And as you know, if you know anything about me, if you followed me, I was married to a cult leader for 16 years. I did not know that I was in a cult at that time, but I learned after I left, and you know, they say hindsight's 20/20. When you look back on things, you just kind of shake your head, like, how could I not see that? Why was that not a red flag? Why did I not understand that? And one of the things, what happened with me when I left the cult after 16 years of being married to him, I got a divorce. I connected with another ministry that was the exact same, but because it was familiar and because I did not have the awareness of the cult-like things at that time, I thought that this was a good place to be. But it also was a cult, and after my very well-being was threatened when I left, that's when I began to see that I had been in a cult for so many years, between two different cults. But the first cult was with my ex-husband, and he was a very dictatorship type person. It was his way or no way. He carried the title of prophet, and I say that very, very loosely. We were led to believe that whatever he says goes. He is the man of God. Whatever he hears from God, we just have to go along with. We are not to question it. If we do, we are in trouble with God. We are touching God's anointed, and we could be in great trouble with God if we dare to question his authority or anything that he's saying. And one of the ways that he was able to manipulate and control was through money. And what I mean by that is, he was able to convince people certain amounts to give, and that there were blessings and miracles and healings attached to these amounts of money. He would hand out envelopes. He would write the amount on the envelope. And that was a big way that he was able to manipulate and deceive God's people, was by using money. And even if you had to go broke, even if you didn't have the money, he would allow you to use credit cards. He would allow you to make vows. He would allow you to go cash out your retirement. I've seen people bring settlements to him. He was very, very controlling when it came to money, and he put the fear in you that if you did not give a certain amount and do the things that you were supposed to do, you would be in trouble with God, and you would miss out on these wonderful blessings that he promised everyone. And so it got so bad, and this is the story I want to tell you. I kind of had to tell you how he was for you to understand the story and how terrible that it got. When he had gotten so bad, and he had gone to a church in another state, and he had been at this church for several weeks preaching a revival. And you know, the old saying is, you can only get so much blood out of a turnip, meaning that only one person can give so much. Eventually, it's going to run out. Eventually, they're not going to have any money to be able to give. And so that's where he was with this church. It was a very small church. There was about 7 people that were attending the revival, and these same 7 people for 21 days have given every single night. But he has this way about him that you do what the prophet says and you will be blessed. And so the last night of the revival, he took up an offering, and it was like $7. Okay? Now, mind you, these same people, again, have been giving for 21 days. Showing up every night, being in attendance, and giving what they had to give. Probably overdrawing their bank accounts. I've seen people do that. Probably maxing out their credit cards, all to get this blessing. That does not exist. It does not exist, by the way. And he took up the offering. It was like $7. he took the offering and he dumped it onto the ground. And he said, I do not accept this offering, and neither does God. And he stepped on the money after he dropped the basket on the ground, and he walked out of the church. And that was the last night of his revival. So I've been to the abuse. I've seen the terrible things that can happen. That's why it's so important to get in your word and understand that there is no amount of money that can buy you a miracle. We are to be cheerful givers. We are not to be under burden to give. We are not to be pressured to give, or we're not supposed to give under compulsion. We are supposed to be cheerful givers. And when you do that, God does take care of his people. If you came up to me and you told me that your rent was $500 and you had $500, but that preacher's asking for $500 and you want to give that by faith so that God will pay your bills, I'm going to tell you to go pay your rent. That is not being a wise steward. We have to understand that if we have it to give, then we can give. But we are not to test God with that. And we are not to go max out our credit cards, take a bunch of envelopes that we're not going to fill, and put ourselves under this unnecessary burden and giving out of compulsion. When I left the Word of Faith movement, the prosperity gospel movement, I had so many envelopes that I didn't know whether I should send them back to the preachers or I should wallpaper my bathroom, like for real. There were so many envelopes that I took under compulsion. So get in the word for yourself and understand that you cannot buy a miracle and you cannot buy a blessing. There's no amount of money that you can give to twist God's arm to make him do what you want him to do. Just be a cheerful giver.